Welcome to SibSpot. Today's episodes are about entitled parents. Our first story is by J. Law. Entitled stepfather stalking us by watching our outside home surveillance camera that he installed. Me and my stepdad have always been quite close. He's always been supportive and always been there for me more than my own father has been. Regardless, me and my girlfriend moved into my grandmother's house just over a year ago to help her around the house a little more. Me and my girlfriend both have relatively nice cars parked in the driveway. I asked if he would install a camera on his house to keep an eye on them. He did this for me. I offered him the money and he didn't charge me anything. I didn't think anything of it until last autumn. I'd gone to visit my friend the other day who lives about 80 miles away. I'd come home around 7 and as my grandma went to bed, me and my girlfriend decided to go out for a bit of a date night. I got a phone call from my stepdad around 9:30 asking if I was okay as I wasn't home yet. I straight away knew he'd checked the camera to see if I was home yet. I was fuming and I told him I don't appreciate being clocked in and out. He took offense to this and thought I was being ungrateful. Since then, he hasn't really made any comments, but then a couple of months ago, me and my girlfriend had a baby. She was in the hospital for a while, and he kept checking when I was home from the hospital each evening. I knew because the minute my car got into the driveway, it was, "Don't forget to put blank in your car for tomorrow." Or if I stayed out for a while later, I'd get, "When you get home, can you blah blah blah," which suggests he knew I wasn't home. I had the odd digs I didn't want him watching me. So a few weeks ago, he'd made it quite obvious he'd checked if I was in before coming to visit with my mom. Fuming, I unplugged the camera from the internet so that I could only access it when I needed to. I wanted to see how long it would take him to notice a problem, but he's instead been in a funny mood for a few weeks. Today he came to inspect it as it had gone down, and I openly and honestly told him I appreciate what he's done for us, but I don't want him stalking us. He threw a massive tantrum, accused me of being ungrateful and tried guilt-tripping me and saying it's only because he cares. He then deleted it from his access, or so he claimed anyway. I don't mind him having access. It helps keeping an eye on my grandmother if she ventures out or anything, but I'm a grown adult who doesn't need clocking in and out. It massively breaches data protection. It's weird, and what winds me up the most is him having a tantrum about it. You wanted these cameras installed so that you could have your cars that were kind of nice watched. And because he's checking in on you to make sure you're okay, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't want my parents watching. I wouldn't install a camera and ask my parents to watch my car. So it's on you, though. The breach of privacy is on you. Story 2 is by Ulfer. This is a family locker room for families. To recap, I was placed in possession of a pair of kids, 8 female and 5 male, on turbo short notice over the weekend. On Friday, as soon as the parents left, pandemonium reigned, and I knew I needed to get the energy out of the kids or I'd be dead by Sunday. So I had them collect bathing suits and we all went to a gym, which has a guest policy and a pool. Got the kids signed in as my guests for the evening and asked a bit uncomfortably what the correct thing to do would be given I was in charge of a boy and a girl. The girl at the front desk laughed at me a little and said, the family locker rooms were down the same hallway as the women's locker rooms. It felt very, very odd walking down the forbidden hallway, but true to her word, there were 2 big doors, one that said families and one that said women. The boy kid really wanted to wander into the women's locker room, which got vetoed almost immediately. We get in there and there's stalls inside for changing, basically a closet with changing room door on it. Me being hyper aware that anything going even slightly wrong in relationship to someone else's naked child is a very, very bad place for misunderstandings, decided that we'd take turns. The girl would go in first, get out of her clothes, change into her suit, and then come hang with me while her brother did the same. And then when it was my turn, I'd best be seeing 2 pairs of ankle under the door the whole time or someone's getting left at the locker room hung by their bathing suit. Happily enough, nothing went wrong. On our end, anyway. Unfortunately, while the girl was changing, a mom and her son came into the family room and looked confused. "Why are you and your son just standing there?" she says. "Oh, I'm watching the kids and his sister is changing. They're not my children. Figured this was the safest for everyone," says I, thinking, oh God, no. Please, it's Friday. She rears back in shock, raises her voice. "They're not your children?" "Nope, just borrowed them so their mom could get some alone time with Dad." At this point, the little dude is hiding behind me and the clothing rustling from the little girl has stopped. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to get them changed and into the pool. I can't take a little girl into the men's locker room," says I, thinking that I'm not particularly comfortable in there. I can't imagine it would go well with a little girl. "This is a family locker room for families, not for babysitters, and who thought you were mature enough to watch the kids on their own? I'm getting you removed," says she, and then yanks her child out behind her to go yell at someone at the front desk. The boy tugged on my pants and looked up at me. "I think that lady is crazy." I looked down at the little dude and nodded, but made a shush sound and told the girl to get changed pronto. The woman didn't come back and the kids didn't wander off while I was getting changed. We had a great time in the pool and we didn't see the kid or his mom while we were in the pool or after. Don't know what happened. There was a different desk attendant when we left. Some people seriously need to mind their own business. Like, they're really young. You don't just leave them to go do their own thing in each of their own change rooms unless you can, block the exit and watch for them coming through and there's no other exit. Some of these public locker rooms for changing have multiple ways in and out, and you do not want to chance that. So they got changed in the family one. No big deal. This last story is by the same author as the one that we just read. It's Ulfer again. "You want my dog?" "Well, I think it's fairly safe to assume I've lost a couple friends over this, but it wasn't me what did it. This weekend, a friend of mine asked me to keep an eye on her 2 kids while she and her hubby went away for the weekend for some couple time. Her mother was initially going to watch the kids, but fell through on short notice. She called me at 3 p.m. on Friday to come over in 3 hours. And my friend knew I probably wasn't doing anything, which was both hurtful and accurate. I said sure. She's got 2 kids, a girl who's 8 and a boy who's 5. They're good kids for the most part. The boy has a little bit of a snitching problem and the girl has a sharing problem, but it's 2 days. So I show up Friday after work when my friend gives me the rundown and her husband tells the kids he will beat them with their sibling if they're bad. What? The kids were unimpressed. The parents leave and it's just me and the kids in the house, and it's immediate pandemonium. The brother snitches on his sister for taking an extra cookie. The sister cries to me that her brother touched her Switch, and I make the executive decision that they've got too much energy and they're tuckered out. They will hopefully chill. So I ask the kids to track down bathing suits because we're going to the gym, which has a pool and a guest policy. I did let my mom know what we were up to before we left and asked if it was okay if I brought my dog over. He doesn't shed and he's house trained. She said it was fine. Operation Pool was a great success, though the locker room got a bit dicey. That's a whole other story. Once everyone was appropriately tired, including me, we made a pit stop on the way back to their house to grab my pooch. He's extremely well behaved and loved kids, and both kids were immediately all about Dexter, and the Dexter was all about the kids. Ground rules: no pulling on his fur, and he goes where he wants. Kids kind of struggle with the notion that a dog is not a toy. I obviously kept him out of places where he wasn't supposed to go, but I'm a grown-up, allegedly. Miraculously, after the swim and chasing the dog around the house, left the kids too pooped to pop, and both fell asleep watching a Disney film on the TV. After the movie, I woke the kids up to trot off to bed and didn't make them brush their teeth. For the record, the son did indeed yeet me under a bus when Mommy called in the morning. I told the kiddos that if they left their doors open, Dexter might sneak in and give them cuddles. I increased the likelihood of this by sleeping on the couch and not leaving him a spot. He expressed his displeasure with me by flouncing off and going to the boys' room to sleep. Great success. Saturday, we went for a hike in the morning, had a nap, and played ball with the dog, and generally had a pretty chill day. Diffused the sharing issue by explaining to the girl that the pup has feelings and wants, just like any person, so she can't control him that way. She appeared thoughtful, and then immediately started yelling at her brother for hogging the dog again. At least she wasn't mad at the dog. I successfully heated up the casserole Mom had left for dinner, following her carefully laid out instructions, admonished the kids not to give the dog people food, and was soundly ignored. I did draw the line at a couple morsels from each kid and put my foot down. More than that, he's going to get the runs, and nobody wants that. That night I made sure Sis got a turn again by hogging the couch and also closing the boy's door since he got a turn already. The girl was smug. The boy made me call his mom. Mom wasn't happy that my dog was in her kids' beds. I reminded her that the dog doesn't shed and can't smell worse than the kids, and her daughter might burn the house down with us inside if she doesn't get a turn. Mom accepted defeat. Saturday night was again relatively peaceful, though toothbrushing did happen. Early Sunday morning, I got woken up by having my dog step on my private parts, which is a thing he's really good at, and he was mad at me for not leaving any room. I made room. Apparently the girl tried to do something he didn't like, and he noped out of there. She wasn't happy about that, but was appeased by my pain enough to go back to bed. This morning was relatively chill. Some more playing with the dog and some more team tug of war, and Mom and Dad got back around lunchtime and thanked me for keeping their kids in one piece. The kids said bye to the pup, and there were tears, and I loaded up myself and my dog and went back home to enjoy the relative peace and quiet. Yeah, I wish it ended there. Maybe an hour after we got home, I get a phone call from a very frazzled-sounding mom with kids crying in the background. She says they need my dog now. I'm sorry, what? You don't need a dog, you need my dog. Like, I don't need to come back and visit soon? You just want him? Well, the kids got attached and they won't stop crying about missing the dog, and her husband don't have time for 2 kids and a puppy, and more guilt-inducing word vomit that was having precisely 0 effect on me. Abso-fluffin-lutely not. Click. Still getting text about being reasonable and you have time to train a new dog. 48 hours of free babysitting isn't enough? You want my dog, too. Not in this lifetime. This woman is insane. She's obviously spoiling her kids if she's so nuts that she calls this person and tells them they want to keep their dog after like a weekend together. This person can just go train a new one. She obviously sees the dog as an object to make her kids behave, instead of it being a beloved family member. I would have said way worse things to her. We are all done for today. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I know I did. If you enjoyed the stories, please consider clicking like or subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Until we meet again, have a celebrated day.